Stay tuned for tonight's adventure with the Fat Man.
Okay, here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. I hope it's good to be where you are because I'm really excited to be here today. My name is Baltimore Fats, and today we're going for a little Lazar treatment. Yeah. Okay, and so that procedure begins by talking about the distinguished organization the NAS sprang from. And of course, I'm talking about the scientific Lazzaroni, right? The scientific mafioso that ran their cabal out of Boston before the creation of the NAS brought them and their leader to Washington, D.C., right? And there he is. Alexander Backy, right? So I had to find out, what does Lazzaroni mean, right? And so Lazzaroni, right, is the name given to the lowest classes in Naples, the idle beggars with no fixed habitation or regular occupation. I read that, I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, these guys here, right, these are the idle beggars of science. Right? The homeless and the jobless. Right? Give me a break. Right? These are some of the wealthiest, most well-respected men in their fields at the time, right? So I really love that they try to associate themselves with these lowly beggars, right? And, especially breaking it down further when you find out that Lazar could also mean leper, right? A poor and diseased person, especially one afflicted by a feared, contagious disease such as leprosy. All right, so not only are these esteemed scientists homeless beggars, right? They're also diseased. One definition I found for Roni is, it means strong counsel, right? It's meaning strong counsel or true image. So Lazzaroni could translate to council of the lepers. But what else can we get from Lazzaroni? Well, L-A, right? That's a common prefix for the, right? So Lazar could be read as the czar. So what's a czar? And this portion of Mud City is brought to you by D. Zerda, who's been dropping czar-inspired gold in the comments section for quite a while now, right? And so this is for you, D. Right? And one definition of czar that I found, right, is that in Ethiopia, it's a malevolent spirit or demon. And belief in such spirits is widespread among both Christians and Muslims. So now here we have that Lazzaroni could be read as Council of the Demons, which is really unbelievable. Right? But what else? What else could we get out of czar, right? And according to Wiktionary, not only does czar have roots as an abbreviation for Caesar, where the modern czar probably comes from, and a czar, of course, is an emperor. Here in America, we have as a person appointed by government. So, I mean, again, one way you could read Lazzaroni is Council of the Emperors, right? And you throw scientific in front of it, so it's the Council of the Emperors of Science, right? And again, tying this whole thing in with the malevolent demon motif, one of its definitions in Arabic and in other North African and Middle Eastern countries, it's a religious set of beliefs and practices in parts of Northern Africa and the Middle East involving the possession of an individual, usually a female, by that type of spirit. But it has other Middle Eastern definitions as well, right? Most notably, because a lot of other cultures seem to have borrowed the word from the Ottoman Turks, who have it as die, like playing dice. And I love this illustration here, which of course really showcases that hexagon shape. And of course the Arabic is just cube. Now this is really interesting considering all the cube symbolism that's been showing up all over the place in this story. And when you look even closer, you see that czar has roots in ancient Greek as tessera, which is the root of tesseract. But also it can mean curtain or veil, membrane, diaphragm, film, or skin, some of which could be interpreted as a net, right? And a net in geometry, right, is an arrangement of overlapping edge-joined polygons in the plane which can be folded, right? And here we have this net of regular octahedron, and here we have a combination of nets that fold up into a cube. This is an entirely different kind of Tetris, right? Fold these up and they become cubes. And I think we all recognize this one here, right? Fold this up and it becomes a cube. And making the leap over to Saturn, right? There's that hexagon allegedly hanging out on Saturn. And here it is in this alleged NASA photograph, and we have it in motion here as well. There it is, spinning its way around the top of Saturn, beaming down its energy to us, or whatever it is that it's doing, right? And this becomes very interesting, especially knowing that the Kaaba is a giant cube. And in my episode King of the Hill Part 1, I draw a direct line from Fort McHenry all the way to this bad boy. All right, so just to refresh our memories, right, here's that arrow in Fort McHenry and this straight pin drop line that I put in it. And we're going to follow and see where it goes. And we're going to see that this thing goes straight to the Kaaba. All right, following it up the eastern seaboard, through all these great cities, through New York and New England, into Newfoundland, Avalon, where Sir George Calvert settled. All right, so bring it across the ocean to our final destination, the Kaaba, Mecca. Look how close that yellow line comes. Right? That is ridiculous. All right, so now Fort McHenry pointing directly to this thing through this arrow here, right? And Fort McHenry being the star fort that it is, allegedly built by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers before they were known as such, right? There's still an office of the Corps of Engineers on site here. And as I talked about in one of my very first episodes and just recently with Mysteries of the Realm, there's a deep connection between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and star forts in America, and that I think really needs to be explored more, especially when I see that, and this is one of those connections that really draw these strings tighter, right? And that's that Alexander Backy, he was a member of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, right? He graduated first in his class out of West Point in 1825, right? And he went on to be a second lieutenant in the Army Corps of Engineers. And so now, again, connecting the star forts to the military, connecting the military also to the National Academy of Sciences, and just kind of stringing that forward. Could the Army Corps of Engineers, and by extension the NAS, be under the influence of some order of malevolent cubist demons? Right? And could this connect to Baltimore in a deeper way, given the possibility of a deep Islamic influence in the city's shaping? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out as I go down this rabbit hole. But before I go, I want to talk about one last possible definition for Lazzaroni, right? And believe me, there's more that I didn't touch on, right? And that's while I was breaking the word down, I came upon this definition for Aroni, right? And it is it's of the Afro-Asiatic, Semitic, Central Semitic, and Hebrew languages, right? And it's a name, either a surname or a first name, right? And the name derives from the Hebrew Aaron, meaning the high mountain, a mountain of strength, enlightened or elevated, exalted, which is most likely of ancient Egyptian origin from Aharu, meaning warrior lion. Right? Aaron the priest was the elder brother of Moses in the book of Exodus and in the Quran. Right? He represented the priestly functions of his tribe, becoming the first high priest of the Israelites. And so now, depending on how you want to read it, Lazzaroni could mean king of the mountain, Czar Aroni, right? Or even like the king's high priest or high priest of the kings, right? Did these men see themselves as such? And if they did, what could that mean for the long entertained plan that Charles Henry Davis talks about the NAS fulfilling? Again, I don't know, right? But I'm going to see what I can find out. So remember, guys, just because you don't know the truth doesn't mean you can't have fun with the lies. And so hopefully we'll pick up next with Alexander Backy, probably next week sometime, right? And so until the next one, cheers, guys.